They didn't even ask his name first. That was the part that cut the deepest. One minute Marcus was walking through the mall lobby with a bag in his hand heading toward the parking garage, and the next minute two security guards in dark uniforms flanked him like he was some shoplifter trying to make a run for it. "Sir, we need you to come with us." No explanation. No courtesy. Just a tone that said, "We've already decided who you are." Now here's the twist: Marcus wasn't just anybody. He wasn't just a shopper or a passerby. He was a board director of one of the very companies that kept that mall alive. The man who had worked his way out of the South Side streets through corporate America into a position people told him he'd never reach. But in that moment, none of that mattered. To them, he was just a black man carrying a bag. Let me take you back a little, because Marcus had lived this scene before. Different place, same energy. He grew up in St. Louis, raised by a single mother who worked two jobs. His mom used to say, "Son, you'll have to be twice as good to get half the credit." And he didn't really get it back then. He thought if you dressed sharp, spoke clearly, showed respect, you'd get respect. But time after time, reality smacked him in the face. Like the time in high school when he was accused of cheating on an exam just because his score jumped higher than expected. Or when he was pulled over 3 times in 1 month driving his beat-up Honda, always asked the same thing, "Is this car yours?" So when those guards surrounded him in that mall, a part of him wasn't shocked, just tired. But let's stay in that moment. Shoppers were walking by, some glancing, most ignoring. That's how it goes. People don't like to interfere. Guards told him to walk with them. He asked, "What's the issue?" They just repeated, "Sir, we need you to step outside." No answer, no reason. And that's when his chest started to burn, because he knew, if he raised his voice, he'd look aggressive. If he stayed silent, he'd look guilty. Either way, they already painted the picture. They walked him toward the glass exit doors like he was being paraded. And in Marcus's head, flashes of memory hit him. The first time he visited this mall as a kid, begging his mom for a slice of pizza, dreaming about buying the sneakers in the display case. Fast forward years later, he wasn't that kid anymore. He was a man who owned real estate shares, sat in boardrooms, gave speeches about inclusion. He had receipts literally and figuratively. So right as they stepped outside, Marcus stopped walking. He reached into his wallet, slow and careful. The guards tensed up like they expected the worst. And that was another sting, because he knew if his skin had been lighter, that movement wouldn't have raised alarm. He pulled out a card, black with silver lettering, heavier than a normal business card. It read, "Board of Directors, Horizon Development Group." He held it out. "You might want to read that." Silence. One guard's eyes flickered. The other cleared his throat. They didn't say a word at first, just stared at the card like it was written in another language. Then one of them mumbled, "Sir, we were just following protocol." Marcus stared dead at him. Protocol, huh? Tell me something. What exactly was the suspicion? They didn't answer. They couldn't, because there wasn't one. Here's the thing, though. That moment wasn't about proving them wrong. Marcus didn't need validation. He'd already climbed higher than most people expected him to. The sting was knowing that no matter how far he went, no matter how much he earned, no matter how many suits he wore, some people would still see him through the same cracked lens. Now let's rewind again, because this story ain't just about one mall incident. It's about everything that led up to it. Marcus had built his career brick by brick. First job at a call center, 12-hour shifts, getting cursed out by strangers. He used to practice writing emails to sound professional, erasing anything that might sound too urban. Because he noticed his coworkers got praised for being direct while he got told to tone it down. He climbed out of that call center into management, then into finance. Each level, fewer people looked like him. Each level, the pressure grew heavier. He didn't just represent Marcus, he represented every stereotype people carried into the room. And he carried that weight until it hardened into armor. By the time he joined Horizon's board, he was sharper than sharp. But still human. Still vulnerable to a world that judged before asking. So standing there outside that mall, holding that board director card, Marcus had a choice. He could have raised hell, demanded the head of security, made a public scene. But he looked at the guards, and what he saw wasn't just arrogance, it was ignorance. They weren't ready for the idea that a man like him could belong at the top. Instead, he tucked the card back in his wallet. He looked them in the eye and said, "Do better." Then he walked away, not because they deserved grace, but because he wasn't going to let their small-mindedness drain his peace. But here's the real kicker. The next month, at the quarterly board meeting, Marcus told the story. Not angrily, but clearly, with detail. And he challenged the company. If we own these spaces, then we own the responsibility of how people are treated inside them. He pushed for mandatory bias training for security staff across every Horizon-owned property. Not as a PR stunt, but as a real investment in change. Some people on the board shifted uncomfortably. But Marcus knew, change doesn't come from silence. Now hear us where I bring you back to us, because this isn't just Marcus's story. This is about how easily a person's humanity can be erased in seconds. One glance, one assumption, and suddenly you're not a man, not a customer, not a leader, you're just a suspicious figure. And that's the question we all got to wrestle with. How many times has somebody been written off before they even got a chance to speak? Marcus walked away that day with his dignity intact, but not everybody gets to flip the script with a card in their wallet. Some people don't get to prove who they are before things escalate. That's the reality. So the moral is simple but heavy. Respect shouldn't depend on a title, a suit, or a business card. Humanity should come first, no matter what. And I'll leave you with this: if you're watching this, don't just shake your head and move on. Think about your own lens. Think about the assumptions you carry, the snap judgments you make. Because the only way things shift is if we all start catching ourselves in those moments. If you felt this story, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment. What would you have done if you were in Marcus's shoes? If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, kindly hit the subscribe button now and get instant notification for more interesting stories like this.